listening to a mini episode of That's Auntertainment. I am your pop culture maven, Jeff Malone. Okay, here's what's happening. So the overall premise of That's Auntertainment for any new listeners or for any old listeners or for any medium listeners, it's that me and my Aunt Beth, we co-host and we talk about some pop culture topic according to the 3 F's: first, favorite, and forever. But we've also got a series of mini episodes in which it's just me on the microphone. Although Aunt Beth has contributed in a particular way. I will get to that very soon. So this is a part of a mini episode series entitled Aunt Beth Tells Jeff to ... in which my co-host provides me with a recommendation of a movie or a TV show or a song, album, etc., that I've never fully witnessed ever before, if you can believe it. So last year, on last season's run of That's Auntertainment, I asked her, could you do a little themed version of Aunt Beth Tells Jeff to do all this, in which you pick some selections known as, we're going to call them the classics, because they were released before I was born, before my birth date. Should I say what my birthday is on the microphone, or will people try to identity thief me? Well, you know what? I believe I've revealed it before. Anyway, so before March 9th, 1988. Last year, she selected an album and a movie and a TV show that were released all in 1982. This year, she did it again, but with a different year, and that year is a little year known as 1978. Okay. So so to start off with, we'll see how fast I get through them, but I'm going in hard, well, or soft. We'll see how it goes. For first to kick off with the movie that she selected for me, a movie that was, yes, in fact, released in 1978, September 13th, 1978, if Wikipedia is to be trusted on this matter. And this movie is called Days of Heaven. Oh, it's an Oscar-winning movie. It won Best Cinematography at the 51st Academy Awards. I think that would be correct. Yeah, 51st. Okay, and it was also nominated for Costume Design, Original Score, and Best Sound. Oh, Ennio Morricone did the score. Was I paying attention when that was mentioned during the opening credits? Anyway, so I rented the Blu-ray of this, the Criterion Collection Blu-ray. I wanted it to look as beautiful as possible on my home viewing system. I kind of wanted to see if I could find it playing anywhere at a movie theater repertory screening. But, you know, it's not an anniversary on one of the 10s or the 5s. Last year was the 45th anniversary of this movie, so maybe it was playing somewhen last year, and maybe it'll be playing in some places again 4 years from now for the 50th anniversary. I can definitely see it happening. The director of this movie, Mr. Terrence Malick, he is beloved among plenty of cinephiles. So, yeah, this is a movie that I've not seen before, just very recently, but it is one that I've heard of, partly because I've heard Aunt Beth talk about it and how much she loved it, and I believe she saw it in the movie theater with her brother, my father, former and future guest of the podcast, Bob Malone. So, yeah, I believe they saw it in the theater in its original run. So, so what happens here on the Aunt Beth Tells Jeff 2 episodes? She gives me a recommendation, I go and check it out, and then I come back here on the microphone, report back to her and to you, all of you listeners, what I thought about it, and then also answer the question, will I keep watching? And I mean, in the case of the movie, there's not more to keep watching, so I could answer, would I ever watch it again, or would I watch more from this director? So we'll get to that answer at the end of the episode. Okay, so yeah, so I'd heard that this movie was just beautiful, like some of the striking cinematography of perhaps any movie ever. And I'm like, I can believe that, because I have seen a few Terrence Malick movies, and if nothing else, his visuals are quite striking. So what Terrence Malick movies have I seen before watching Days of Heaven? I've seen The Tree of Life, I've seen Knight of Cups, and I've seen A Hidden Life. And I've seen bits and pieces of The New World. I was working at the movie theater. I was working at a movie theater at the time that came out, so I snuck a peek in there, like during breaks in the action. So yeah, this is the second movie that Malick ever directed. The first was Badlands, which came out in '73. So for the first 40 years of Terrence Malick's career, he had a reputation of like making just one movie per decade. But then after The Tree of Life came out in 2011, he became like one of the most prolific directors around. You know, previously he'd only made like one movie every 10 or 15 years. Now he's making one every 2 years, or just every 1 year. I was like, what is going on here? Anyway, he doesn't do interviews a whole lot. He values his privacy. So I don't know if he's ever really explained what that shift was all about. But anyway, we're not here to figure out the enigma that is Terrence Malick. We're just here to figure out what I thought about Days of Heaven. So I was like, this is a pretty watchable movie. Oh, I was happy to I was like, you see like an epic movie from one of the masters of cinema, you figure it's going to be pretty long, at least 2 hours. This one is only an hour and 34 minutes. What do you think about that? Get it done in a Saturday evening and be able to go to bed early enough to get up on Sunday morning for a long training run. Excellent. Anyway, so that was appreciated, because I am training for another marathon, so it was nice to be able to fit this in without too much trouble. Yeah, so it's pretty watchable, but I was like, I think I kind of just dove right in. I feel like I missed some key details, or were they not even explained? Like, so it stars Richard Gere and Brooke Adams. I do not know what else Brooke Adams has been in. I'm looking over her credits now. She's been in plenty of stuff. Her career's lasted. Looks like she's still acting. Oh, she was on a bunch of episodes of Monk. Anyway, oh, she's married to Tony Shalhoub. Well, interesting. Anyway, okay. So, I thought it was taking place in the 30s. It just seemed like the farmland settings of that just seemed Depression era to me. But then at some point, about halfway through, this newspaper headline pops up and it says something like, President Wilson visits towns across America. I'm like, oh, I guess it's the 1910s then. And then I'm like, well, I suppose at least in rural areas, the landscape didn't look all that different from the 10s to the 20s to the 30s, and the fashion as well. The urban areas would have looked different. And also, I suppose if it were the 30s, it would have been beset by the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl and all that. Whereas, this movie, it seems like farmers are doing fine. They're not striking it rich, but they're holding their own. So anyway, and then I didn't catch Richard Gere and or Brooke Adams' characters' names. And I'm like, well, at least there's not that many characters. So I just have to remember these two people's faces at the very least. And then there's this girl who toes along with them. And as far as I could... okay, so here's another important piece of information. After watching the movie, I read the plot synopsis on Wikipedia. Because I'm like, I missed some important things. And I'll admit, I was not paying complete attention for like the first 10 minutes or so because I was still processing the college football action that I had watched earlier. So I was looking at like my phone and my tablet to some things of those. So, but I'm like, I don't know. Were these things clearly explicated? Maybe they were. But anyway, fortunately, Wikipedia is here to set me straight. So there's a younger character named Linda. Her name I did catch without having to look it up. And she is the younger sister of Brooke Adams' character. Brooke Adams, her character's name is Abby. Richard Gere, his name is Bill. So I'm like, okay, so it starts in the Chicago area, then they just go off. Bill and Abby are, basically boyfriend and girlfriend, but they pretend to be brother and sister, because it seems to be, so people won't ask questions. It's kind of weird. Then they meet this farmer played by Sam Shepard, and they work on his farm. And so then they kind of pull off a bit of a con. That's where the pretending to be siblings thing comes in, so that Abby can marry Sam Shepard's character. But he's kind of suspicious about Bill. And then Abby kind of does fall in love with Sam Shepard. So it was, I don't know, con artistry was kind of a big deal in movies of the 1970s, and I wasn't expecting that. That's not what I thought I was going to get out of this movie. Honestly, I didn't really know all that much about the plot. But yeah, it's, love triangle thing. It was, I've never seen Jules and Jim, but I thought about that movie. I wonder if I do get around to watching Jules and Jim, or Jules est Jim, if I would find that there's been comparisons drawn between the two, if I would draw comparisons between the two. What are some other love triangle movies that Days of Heaven feels similarly to? I mean, because this one's unique because it's got the love triangle angle and the con artist angle going for it. So that way it's also kind of like Parasite, which I remember when I saw that for the first time. I mean, two very different movies tonally and also kind of thematically, but they're both about a family pulling off a con. And I remember when I saw Parasite, I was like, so they just pulled off a con so that they could get a somewhat better job? And that's also kind of what's happening in Days of Heaven. Like, this boyfriend and girlfriend pretend to be brother and sister so that they can get a better job, get a better farming job. Then there's also, they're trying to inherit money, but it doesn't quite work out all that well. And, this is a time in American life where you could just run away to the next farm and start your life over, or at least attempt to. So I guess that's the big takeaway of this movie. And yes, the cinematography was as beautiful as advertised. So, a pretty satisfying movie. We'll see how well it sticks with me. I'm talking about it a little less than a week after I've watched it, so I was satisfied to have watched it. I'm glad Aunt Beth finally gave me the kick in the rear end to actually press play finally. Will I watch any more Terrence Malick movies? I hope so. I've been planning on watching Badlands and the Thin Red Line at some point, and all of the New World. So that's how we do it. Okay. So what do we got coming up next on That's Auntertainment. More fun. That'll be the tease for now. Because it's shrouded in mystery. There shall be more episodes coming in not too long. And I thank you for listening. As always, you can follow us on social media. We're still on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can support our Patreon if you'd like. You can leave us a review, and we'll read it on air. And as always, keep your remotes handy and your eyes open.